When it comes to the Mineshaft, a key location within the Veach investigation, it also serves as a key hotspot for strange, unusual activity. It just so happens there has been recent activity once again. Hi there, welcome back to the Veach MCave case. Today we're continuing on and focusing on the mineshaft itself. As you know, in recent time there have been interesting items, a cache added nearby, piled on top of rocks and planks of wood, etc. But let's reflect back on the key mineshaft itself, because there have been changes made there. Weathered through time, the weather itself, natural or by human interaction, because when it comes to the opening, it's been open, closed, closed, open, fully closed. I'm going to present to you key photos today, so I do stress, don't go anywhere. Make sure to watch till the end of this video to fully understand before and after and in between of how things have gone through the different years of the documented hikes and hikers that have gone out there whilst recording and taking photos. I'm going to be presenting that to you today because from 2024 looking back to 2022, it's extremely drastic, the change, okay? And we're actually going to look at the mineshaft from some interesting angles which I've never really covered or seen before on my channel. And that's credit to Jay Chuck for his recent hikes out there in 2024 at the start of the year. So we're quite fresh into this year with the Veach investigations, new footage, new material, new interesting findings. So it's still ongoing. In addition, later on in this video, I'll be addressing comments and questions with regards to the last important video that I did. Now, for anyone interested in the other recent finding and latest activity out there, be sure to click top right corner of the screen after you've watched this video. Click on the eye symbol and you'll find the drop down to the video where you can catch up from videos you missed out on previously. And in addition, there should be the official Veach playlist, which I created with all the videos and research gathered together in one place. Be sure to check that out when you do have time. Now, for those that are currently here watching this live premiere, appreciate that. Feel free to share your thoughts and opinions in the live chat box on the right hand side of the screen. As for everybody else and those watching late catch up, be sure to leave your comments down below in the comment section under this video. And as well, there'll be a pinned comment by me with some additional links if you wish to check them out. And if you want to support the channel in alternative ways, it is available there. One last thing I just want to highlight. Shout out, credit to Matt Lingo, Cluckers, and of course, Cleo recently for their super chats and support on his channel. That's much appreciated. And I am aware that reached a new milestone, 10k subscribers. I'll do an individual video on that. I'm holding off for now because I've only just reached 10k. I can also go backwards and lose subscribers. That's why I always give it a few days beforehand just in case, okay? So that all being said and done, we're going to get straight into the video today, straight into the recent footage and findings of the mineshaft, the state it's in, and compare to the past. As said, the changes are quite drastic. Make sure to follow along and let me know your thoughts down below. Here we are with the first photo. This is just a reference point so people are familiar with it. So if you was to look left off the screen, so north, east, south, west, if you were looking west, you're at the mineshaft. This is a few footsteps away, in case you're wondering. And here is the mineshaft. If you literally turned facing west, this is what you would be looking at if you were like looking down at the ground towards. So what you see there is the mineshaft. May look a bit different to some people depending on the photos you've seen over time. What we can do is, whilst looking at these photos, acknowledge what's changed, what's been taken away, what's been added, what's been damaged, has anything been sabotaged, has anything been covered up, etc. J-Chuck mentioned about someone having a campfire or some kind of fire within the area and burnt wood, charred wood. I don't know if that will show up on screen, but what can I see here? Well, there's a loose bit of wood there. Where did that come from? I mean, the colour of it matches within the area, so nothing odd there. Maybe it broke off from there, possibly. But then again, this gap, what you see, is kind of gone inwards, okay? Has someone stepped on it? Maybe. Did it break? Looks like it, okay? That can be because the wood is rotten, it's worn, weathered over a long period of time. So realistically, as time goes on, for as long as Kenny Veach is supposedly missing, and for as long as hikers go out there, with time, eventually this overall mine shaft and the wood just around it, the outline, it'll become more dangerous as time goes on. Because you put your foot on one of those boards, you know, you could go right through it. So that's just worth taking into mind for the future. What do we see over here? Well, I believe that might be to do with Jay Silverheels, that little pouch on the side. There used to be loose coins as well. That was Jay Silverheels honouring Kenny Veach. Jay Silverheels did that, I think, in 2021 or 2022. So nothing odd there. It's like a memorial honouring Kenny, that's all. There appears to be a rock or a light coloured one nearby. I don't know if that was by Silverheels or not, but it looks like it's been moved to the side. Appears to be a rock there at the edge of the boards. Kind of stands out a little bit, but looks to be within the area. I'm not sure if it's always been there. Looks like another board or a piece of the board has gone through the ground. Just click that off. But yeah, in front at least, there's definitely been some damage, right? Been a bit of dirt kicked up as well. I don't know if anything's been dug out or adjusted. I mean, let me know if you see any soil disturbance, right? Because that could be of interest too, especially with it being a mine shaft. What can we see over there? Well, you can see the opening just in front, okay? You see that there and that post there, that's the ladder going into the mine shaft. But what should be going across it from there, the outer beam, to there, where you see it stuck out, because you can see like an outline, a light coloured outline, there should be a brace that goes across, right? That's missing. We solved that because in 2018, a group were responsible for damaging it also. We'll get to that later on, okay? But this is 2024 imagery of January, in case you're wondering. Big pile of wood and sticks and logs, as it's always been like that, so it's not really changed much. I'm surprised no one else has tried building a house or building some kind of shelter out of it. Seems to be some iron also there. But let's move on from a different angle, right? So it does stand out a lot more, that, right? There's a bigger gap. It wasn't like that in the past, so maybe someone stepped on it, the foot went through. That could be a possibility. Does it really reveal much? No, not really, because even if it was closer to the opening of the mine shaft, it'll just show the hole and make the hole a bit wider, and that's it. It's not going to reveal any tunnels. If there are any tunnels, that's within, right? So there's not really much else. The only key thing to acknowledge here, there's like a few planks, right? Not nailed in from the looks of it, just going across. And that's mainly to prevent, I guess, animals or humans from accidentally falling into the mine shaft. Now, I mean, at least for the past, from 2014 beforehand and all the way up to, I'd say, 2022, it's never been touched in the sense of being covered up. But then again, I think Jeff Clark mentioned something about the entrance being widened or made smaller in size. I'm sure Jeff Clark can confirm that or highlight it down below. But yeah, there's a few loose planks of wood going across. And you know what? You can say that's out of safety, looking out for one another, fellow hikers. It's a positive thing. But it hasn't always been like that. And there have been some adjustments throughout time. As said, it will make more sense later on when I show you a before and after. But one thing that I will say is, and I don't know if I'm correct in saying, but whilst you got that bit of wood there next to this beam, on the other side, the ladder, it seems to have snapped. Can you see? It looks like it's broken away like a bone. Whilst you've got the beam behind it, this smaller piece, which it should be the ladder, I believe, as it goes down, should be connected to this piece there, but it's broken off. I don't know if it's always been like that. I know that the brace broke off lower down, hence why you see that nail stuck out, okay? But it does seem like things have become a bit more rickety with time. Who was the last person to go into the mine shaft, and what were the conditions like? Was it SB Vega's Adventures or Scott Natal? It'll be SB Vega's Adventures. 2023, maybe? If SB is here, let me know your experiences. How did it feel? Did you rely on the ladder? Did you partially use the ladder whilst using a rope going down? How bad was it? Was it dangerous? Did it seem worse compared to the past? Let me know. There's a few like loose rocks. Don't think they really have much meaning. Let's move on to the next one. So this is behind. You don't quite know what I'm referring to. Over there, okay? Down there, slightly. So it's like you're behind the mine shaft, right? As it drops down from the platform there and drops to low ground. And this seems to be the most dodgiest part, because looking at that wood, that it also looks like very thin panels of some sort. You can see it bowing on itself, dipping in. You put your foot on there, you're screwed, you're going to go right through. You get what I'm saying? So it does look knackered and worn. Has it always been like this? Hard to tell, because I've not really seen it from other angles in the past. But if other hikers have been out there, let's say Jeff Clark in 2017, did you see this? Was it this bad towards the back of the mine shaft? Let me know your thoughts. I mean, would that be caused by weathering? I guess it depends how thin the sheets of wood were to begin with, compared to the mine shaft where people actually stand on those boards. Here, it looks worse off, right? That's obvious. But what is in that hole? Well, we'll get to a different angle in a second. I just want to provide you some time to be able to look at it for yourself to see if you can see anything of interest. So you can drop timestamps down below if you want to. But that's basically what it is, that hole. It just is basically not practical, not ideal, but you could argue and say it's another access point to get into the mine shaft, right? That's the ladder. The ladder there is what you see there, okay? So you could call it like a window looking through. Does it reveal anything else? No. You're still going into the mine shaft. It doesn't reveal any pathways or tunnels at this moment. But I'm sure lower down on the ground, further back down, there seems to be some like holes in the sides of the mound or hill, whatever you want to call it, where it looks like mining could have took place or attempts were made but didn't follow through with it. I don't know if they're supposed tunnels or not. They don't go in to the mine shaft, but you can make out that there's been activity over time. SB Vega's Adventures captured that. Maybe I can take a look at it in the future. It's just unfortunate that it's hard to keep track of every single video. But if SB Vega's Adventures is around, whether you can guide me to that original video or you might have the odd screenshot, but like lower down on the side of the hill, behind the mine shaft where it looked like there was holes in the ground or areas where people have been digging in the past. Just out of interest, that could be a worthwhile look at a video, right? So we've got that. Zoom one out. Now, this is where we compare. 2014, when Kenny Veach was there. As you can see, you look at the ground there, no damage, right? There's no damage on the floor, the panels. It looks okay. You got that brace, which goes across from beam to beam. That was there. And as well, back here, you seem to have quite a chunky plank which goes across. Doesn't cover the opening, but is towards the back of it. So it makes the opening a little bit more narrow, okay? So you visualize that, you compare it back to what we see here. There's damage there, which wasn't in 2014. The brace has gone completely here compared to 2014, and it's snapped off the ladder there. And then as for the big chunky plank of wood, it doesn't seem to be present anymore. I believe that the big chunky plank of wood was actually moved and maybe placed here. You see that one there? Or an example of it as it goes all the way across. That chunky piece there on the left does look similar to Kenny Veach's footage there. So if that really is the case, it goes to prove that people have manually moved it. Now, is it really heavy? Maybe it's not as heavy as you think, but considering you're hiking out there, you've carried gear, you might be a bit dehydrated, you've put effort in, is that the thing going to be top of your list as what to do out there? More physical work? I don't know. But I just want to put it into perspective. Yes, this is 2014, less weathering compared to 2024. You know, between the years, things happen, natural. The weather, floods, storms, wind, extreme heat, wood rotting with time. I understand that. But there have been times where, because people have gone there, and with the combination of it wear and tearing, you know, it kind of speeds it up like a catalyst, and it's just trying to understand who's responsible or why they did what they did, and we have been successful with time. As I said, this is to re-jog everybody's memory, and as well, it's best to do this so we keep on track of it all, because it is very hard to monitor all of the footage out there, trying to keep up with it. So these little refreshers do help with time, right? So this is 2017, a few years on after Kenny's disappearance. One thing that hasn't changed is the brace. That brace is there, as you can clearly see it in front. And also appears to be a brace just behind as well. But I think that could be the rung of the ladder. And that's no longer there, because I'm sure it broke off, and so did a couple of others further down, because that's when some tried using the ladder to go down in 2018 and it broke. We'll get to that shortly. As for in front, it's hard to tell the planks of wood. As for behind, kind of hard to tell there. There's a few loose ones, but you got that, well, it doesn't look as chunky though from that angle, that plank of wood behind. So this is the thing, it might be down to distance and camera angle. From Kenny Veach's perspective, it looked bigger, the plank of wood going across, but from Jeff Clark's, because he's closer up to it, it looks tiny in comparison. So I don't know if it's the same piece or not, but, you know, just wanted to share it with you. 2021, like, as you can see, nail exposed, because that's where a piece of wood was, which would go across to there, broke off. In 2018, it was present, but that photo, 2018, is when the group of guys, one guy with a beard, and I think two of us, went down into the mineshaft with a rope whilst using the ladder. It did break. They did leave a comment in 2022, I think, basically owning up and saying that they're responsible. It wasn't a big issue at the end of the day, but it was just trying to understand, was the damage done naturally or was it caused by a human? And if it was caused by a human, was it done intentionally as a form of sabotage to hurt people in the future, or was it just by accident? And on that occasion, it was by accident. So we solved that little thing. Of course, the crystal skull within remains a mystery. That's Scott Nuttall's perspective. Sometime in 2022, might have been November time. I mean, what you can see down there is the hole, which is the one I was referring to the 2024 imagery of this. So it looks like that's been around for some time, at least. So no surprise there. And the bits of wood gathered nearby, and some of it piled on top and slightly covering the hole. Not too much changed there. And even there, planks of wood going across the boards, not damaged. The brace obviously missing, because in 2018 that's when it happened and onwards. But as you see there, the opening completely open, right? And up close, there you go. There's no boards going across, unlike in 2024. But same year, different month. when SB Vega's Adventures visited the mineshaft, this was the most drastic change. There's SB on the left. Look at that mineshaft. People kept telling me, oh, there's an opening, it's wide, it's open. Or maybe, oh, it's just gone a bit smaller since. Or the opening has got wider. Excuse me, look on the screen right now. Does that look open to you? I don't think so. Now, it appears that that little purse, oh no, it's not a purse, that's the rock. So that rock's never moved. Interesting. Or hardly moved. Behind that like log on the side near to the board, just behind it, hiding behind it, should be Silverheel's item in honour of Kenny. The boards in front, no damage there. But the opening to the mineshaft completely covered up. Individual planks of wood going all the way across. You look at that first glance, there is not a single opening there, right? You look at it at first glance, you could assume that that mineshaft has been covered up for the protection of the general public, and the DNWR are responsible for it. So you'd probably be less likely to investigate because you'd see and think, oh, it's been filled in, right? To protect general public. But obviously, those planks of wood are loose because back in 2024, on the right-hand side, it was reopened, just with a few planks of wood going across just to cover it up slightly. So you tell me, who's responsible for fully covering it up in 2022? Who was responsible, right? And then who was responsible for taking all the boards away and then putting just a couple across? I'm just interested, curious. Is this done by hikers, right, who come and go? They fill it in to protect others from hurting themselves and falling in? Or is it by another unknown group out there, a rogue hiker trying to cover up the truth? Or is it by the DNWR? Still remains a question, because there was some confusion between SB Vega's Adventures, Jeff Clark, and an overall situation of who covered this, who covered that. You know, it's hard to remember, right? I'll try and reiterate it roughly, but hopefully at the end of the day, this video will bring answers, and you can leave your comments down below if you know, right? So I'm sure either Jeff Clark said SB didn't cover it up, because that's what he was told from SB Vegas. But then from when I reached out to SB Vegas, he said he did cover it up. So it was like something like, he didn't cover it up, that's what he told me. And then the other person said, well, he didn't. It's fucking confusing, fucking bollocks. But basically, it was covered up at a point in 2022 and then reopened in 2023 or 2024, okay? I just find it interesting. You know, the changes, effort's been put in to completely seal it up from there, no gaps. You know, I'll even zoom in so you can see. You know, Jeff Clark, do you understand what I'm getting at now? Complete opening filled in. Only temporary, not permanent, but who was responsible for that? That's my question. Comparing it to 2024, it's open, obviously. Those planks of wood can be moved and you can get into the mineshaft if you wish to do so. Here, yes, planks of wood are movable too, but it's completely covered, isn't it? It's just a valid observation. It's obvious, right? One's covered up, the other one isn't. Who's responsible for it? That's my point. And of course, with time, it just looks like it's taken a toll. The mineshaft itself, the planks around, you know, and it'll probably get worse with time. If you wonder why I make these type of videos, it's to document the different hikers that have gone out there, make reference to them and the years, the dates or so you've got always something to look back to. And so do I as well, because I might reuse photos in the future to make comparisons. It's quite important to do so. But that mineshaft has definitely taken a beating over time, whether it be by some humans, accidents, or just natural weathering, wearing down, etc. It's seen better days, right? And it's inevitable that it's not maintained by anyone. I don't think the DNWR bothers with it at all. Well, that's what I think. Military, maybe not. But does that talk about the mineshaft within, tunnels filled in or not? Could they lead on to somewhere, a base, military related, alien related? And Jeff Clark has still been fascinated within the mineshaft and the possibilities, how there was the odd entrance point where it could go in further. Really, Robin highlighting it himself too. But has it led to much of an outcome, or I guess a lead, a follow-up? Not yet, but maybe with time, you never know. I mean, whilst you got the mineshaft itself, if it does wear down more, besides it being unstable and unsafe, I don't know. I'm just thinking of the Heavy D situation. I don't know if anyone remembers it, but Heavy D did a mineshaft exploration recovery mission in which he was trying to look for Susan Powell. And when going into the mineshaft, it was like a bird's nest and different tiers all the way down, very deep, but also filled with a lot of rubble, and even having to dig their way in and deeper took a lot of time and effort. Obviously, with this mineshaft, not as deep, but if the boards are going and things are breaking and imploding on themselves, if that damages the structural integrity of the foundations of it and the metal post which goes up, like the triangle, if it all collapses in on itself, then it's just going to be like a cave in, right? It's just going to all cave in and it'll be no longer accessible, which would be a bit of a disappointment and shame. Now, with the crystal skull no longer being present within the mineshaft, maybe it's not as much of a shame, right? If you knew something was within there and you couldn't get to it, that would be more annoying, right? But if there was that ongoing thoughts or theories of, you know what, there could be tunnels within, we need to dig within, we need to do something. If anyone had that idea or thought, all I would suggest, if you're thinking of doing it, probably best doing it sooner than later. I know, easier said than done. But based off, the mineshaft and how it looks and appears old and rickety, it's only going to get worse. And eventually there could be the inevitable, like, it caves in, meaning it would be impossible to explore. So it's like, do as much as you can before it's like screwed, okay? Because I don't think anyone else is going to go out there and start recovering or pulling material out, because you can't have vehicle access, it's not possible. And the distance just to get there on foot, you're not going to be carrying material with you and equipment, so it would just be ruled out as impossible and inaccessible for the foreseeable future. So hopefully, if there's any more breakthroughs or updates and findings, it can happen before the inevitable, right? Now, with that being said, with reference to that cache being added nearby as a form of maybe helping hikers out, I don't know how long that will last for. I don't know if it'll ever be used or not, but I guess we'll see with time. There was one recent hiker or potential hiker saying that they would include a logbook within the area. That would be interesting. It could be useful. I don't know where exactly you would store it and keep it protected, but it could help keep track of who comes in and out of the area. I mean, let me know your thoughts down below. Do you think a logbook should be added within or near to the mineshaft? Let me know your thoughts there. As for a previous hiker that said they were going to go out there, can't remember their name, but I shared the link with Jeff Clark. Maybe Jeff Clark can let other people know. But basically, another guy said he was going to go out there and hike. I found his channel after all this time and found one video. It was only a short 20-second clip or something of him being at the roadside of where Kenny Veach parked. Don't know if he actually went on the hike or not. He hasn't uploaded any more footage or videos, so I'm not sure what's going on there. But if those type of people that reached out to my channel and said they were interested or they were going to go out there, if you ever catch up, feel free to let me know how it went and were you able to get a hold of footage? Are you planning on uploading it in the future? Just out of interest, right? So with that being said, let's refer back to the comment section, right? To catch up there with people's recent responses. here we are. We can adjust it to the newest. Got a couple of comments to get through. Also want to highlight, apologies if I made a mistake earlier where I said about referring back to comments of the cache Mineshaft video, because we already acknowledged those comments in the previous video. It's kind of hard to keep up with. So actually what we're going to be looking at are the comments to do with Susan Veach and how people treat one another differently, how people may listen more to the girlfriend of Kenny Veach but not Susan Veach. Susan Veach is family related. Sharon, the girlfriend, is not, and is an ex-girlfriend. So who really knows more? You know, one or the other. So people, what did people say? Cleo, interesting. ZX0, no one. I guess ZX means he doesn't trust any of them, right? Shout out to ZX, not seen them for quite some time. I don't know where they've been. We've got Glenn, Seth, look into Phoenix. The case, different case, I don't know. Soul, what if Kenny Veach was being held hostage by Sharon Pilgrim? June, God help him. So there was one idea going about, which is highlighted by the odd key individual in the background. Not so much Kenny Veach being held hostage somewhere, but staying somewhere and being under the presence or watch of maybe Ray Veach or Sharon Pilgrim being looked after in the background. I don't know if that would still apply right now, but it was a potential suggestion. Do I think Kenny has been held hostage by Sharon Pilgrim? I don't know. Do people think Sharon has a dark side when it comes to Kenny? I wonder. The idea of being held hostage, kidnapped, just in general, has been talked about quite, often, or at least was in the past, such as military intervention. Some were saying the cartel. It kind of ranged, quite varied. You had UFOs, alien abduction, different forms of being kidnapped, right, by different types of people. Who knows? Pilgrim, Soul says, pilgrim, noun, a person who journeys to a sacred place for religious reasons. And I did mention about how at some point after Kenny's disappearance, don't know if it was the same year or later, but there was a time where Sharon Pilgrim and a couple of others ended up going on vacation, went to China, Great Wall of China. Was it a pilgrimage? I'm not quite sure. A religious reference? Not too sure. But people were highlighting that it was interesting or it was strange how Sharon Pilgrim went to the Great Wall of China. Why? Was it to get away from it all? Was it in line with when Kenny went missing the same year or month? I can't remember. If it was, I don't know if people were highlighting, suggesting, saying maybe that's where Kenny Veach went as well, with Sharon in the background. I can't remember, right? But there were people that were interested in that journey out there. Moving on. What's this? Soul says, both need to be investigated deep into their background, history and biography. So Soul is saying the likes of Susan Veach and Sharon need to be investigated. Susan responds saying, bring it on. Soul saying, what's in the dark will come to the light. Well, maybe, but what we've experienced in the Kenny Veach case is what's in the light has retreated to the dark, and sometimes forcibly. Smooth fishing. I think Sharon knows exactly where Kenny is, and Susan, the real one, seems to be honest and very knowledgeable about Kenny before, missing and after. She seems to think he faked his death, just like a lot of us do think that way. Okay, fair point. Eric the Hiker. Yeah, we've heard of Eric the Hiker. 2017 or something? Or 2016? Might have been 2016. On Twitter, I think, on an old Sharon Pilgrim account, there was tweets by Sharon reaching out to Eric saying, where are you? It's been 2 days now, what's going on? Never really followed up, died down pretty quick. Who knows what happened to Eric? A person called Eric online said he was going to go out searching for Kenny. Did he in the end? Don't know. Some people said he had a channel on YouTube, and then later it changed to just gaming and unrelated stuff, and then that channel was later deleted, maybe because he was exposed or questioned. Many unanswered questions there, but another potential key individual, maybe another potential missing individual. Sol says there is a video of Jay Chuck with the crystal skull talking and laughing like a demon. I don't remember seeing that one, but then again, Jay Chuck does have hard to reach videos with different titles, which I wouldn't normally see or come across when looking for Kenny Veach. So I've not seen that personally. I do know that Jay Chuck, when he does his videos and he's talking at the intro or later on, he starts laughing. He goes, something like that. Of course, I'm not going to laugh too much because it's just going to make me cough. But Jay Chuck, you can rate my laugh there out of 10. What was it like? It was good when it was Halloween, though, that time. Sol says there needs to be trail cameras, CCTV, that catches whatever is crawling around those hills at night, night vision goggles, thermal goggles, etc. Yeah, Sean Horlacker was talking about items like that, taking gear out there. As for the goggles, and some other additional stuff too. But then again, it'll be hard to carry it all, so you'd have to be cautious with what you take. As for the trail cameras, are they easy to set up? If so, I'm surprised no one's done it yet. But then again, it depends who's out there and just simply the resources what people have, because it costs to go out there in the first place. Then to be taking additional equipment or getting a hold of new equipment, cameras, that'll cost as well, so it might be pushing it. There are trail cameras out there, just not within the area exactly. Further on north, at some spring or something, Scott Natal documented it where there was one trail camera facing some water, and he even waved to the camera. Unfortunately, it's not in the correct area, so yeah. Jeff Clark says, did you change this title? I thought it asked, who do you believe more, Sharon or Susan? I trust that Susan fully believes every word she says. I don't think she is lying at all. I just don't agree with the things she uses as proof to convince herself of her conclusions or actual proof. She uses emotional family members, eyewitnesses' statements, and her say that she had been told by police and RRSAR to form her conclusions, and none of that is reliable for various reasons. I mean, you can argue and say it's not reliable enough, but something is better than nothing, because without it, what do you have, right? A possible endless goose chase. As for the title of the video, it did change because it wasn't quite hitting home, it wasn't quite hitting hard. Adjustments need to be made at times to get that reach. It wasn't quite there to begin with. And you need people to find these videos, short, snappy titles, get to the point, and that's what was done. And I think it worked out in the end. June says, you said the general public aren't exactly welcoming to Susan. I've noticed when someone makes a statement or asks a question, she answers as if the person is a fool, like she is the only one who has all the answers. My reason that I ignore her at all cost is because on a channel I cannot remember which, she left a filthy, degrading comment about Kenny. It was written to try to destroy his reputation. It was posted a few years back, but leopards don't change their spots. So the important thing is June, and I did clearly outline and explain it in the video itself. If you can't quite remember or understand, June, remember the Dylan Rounds case, right? The Dylan Rounds case in which people in the community created fake accounts, said bad things to paint a bad picture of the person they were impersonating, right? That's what happened with Susan Veach. The real Susan Veach, there was an impersonation account of her. Who was responsible? Don't know. But people have impersonated me as well in the Kenny Veach case. So it could be the same person lurking in the background. So because of those weird comments, somebody pretending to be Susan, leaving comments saying that they were engaging in sexual activities with Kenny Veach as a form of incest, well, that's all fake news, and that was by an impersonation account, okay? So I can understand, June, why you would be very cautious and wary of Susan in general, but unfortunately it's through a misunderstanding as to why it's come to this, okay? Now, as for Susan being quite direct, or if you feel like you're being treated as a fool by the hands of Susan, as said, she can be quite direct at times. That's not me defending her. That's just me from my point of view, because I've been on the receiving end of it as well, June. But with time, it was ironed out and it was okay in the end. Take in mind, when it comes to the Dylan Rounds community, there's been some people pecking their beaks at me. They may be more knowledgeable or they may have a key point, but sometimes how they put their things across, it can be a bit, I don't know, a bit abrupt or so, but sometimes you just have to listen to it in order to not learn from them, but learn about a case. Not always, the best situation, but sometimes, you got to put things aside. Let's just see what the response is. Susan, this is the real Susan Veach account, in case you're wondering, says, that was probably because I sent a message to Warlight Raf saying I sent him some info and you commented, ignore her. I guess being rude is okay as long as you do it. So I think I remembered that, but it's like a three-way or a two-way misunderstanding. Well, no, it'll be like a three-way misunderstanding. You got the real Susan Veach, you got June, and then you got a fake impersonation account of Susan Veach. And that fake account has engaged at times, which June has seen firsthand experience, bad negative impressions, which is understandable. So then when June comes across the real Susan Veach, one's perception isn't, how it should be because of the disruption of others in the background. So at the time of when June experienced all of that, and then when Susan Veach showed up commenting about me, or a reference, that's why June was like, you know what, Raf, don't trust that person because they've left very dirty comments elsewhere. That's incorrect, because the real Susan Veach didn't do that. A fake account did. But I can understand why June would be cautious in general. This is just like the Dylan Rounds case all over again. That's the easiest way to put it for those who are new to this community. Susan says, June, if you're referring to the disgusting comments about having stuff with Kenny, that was not me, just as Walleye has spoken about. I reported that person over 20 times and nothing has been done. Unfortunately, with YouTube are useless and lazy most of the time. They don't take action. Final comment, a long one. Coyote says, people don't like it when their views are challenged. So many people have watched Kenny's videos so many times that they feel like they know who he is and probably see him as a likable person. But we have to remember that almost everything we know about Kenny is what we see in his videos and, of course, what Sharon has stated. We have to consider that Kenny was portraying himself as someone who he was not. He was showing us what he wanted us to see. Then Susan comes along with a different opinion of Kenny and it challenges your view. Well, it doesn't challenge my view, but maybe they're talking about people in general. I can see how that might sour opinions of Susan, but out of all the people involved in this community, Susan is the one person who actually knew Kenny personally. True. She knows his whole background and knows who he really is. This makes Susan the most important person currently involved. She has been instrumental in clearing up misinformation and providing real information. She knows the shady people connected to the mystery, such as Ray and Sharon, and call them out. She doesn't have all the answers, but we have no reason thus far to question her sincerity. I hope she stays involved. Okay, fair points there. Jeff Clark said that he doesn't believe that Susan is lying about her points, but as for the actual evidence and material provided, it's not strong enough to convince, her points put across towards others. So maybe we're halfway there in progression, halfway there in resolving all the issues and trust issues, okay? I mean, the only way to put it in perspective, it might not be enough, okay? People can argue and say what Susan Veach has or presented isn't enough, right? I think it's been useful, but other people may think it's just not enough, not strong enough in evidence. But you take away all of that and refer back to a couple of years back now, what exactly did we have as material? Scraps, not much at all, right? So over time, progression has been made and evidence and material has been collected. So we're better off now than we were back then. Sometimes I do think, though, that when you've got limited material and items, it's not always a negative because you can be resourceful with it, and it doesn't get too overwhelming, right? You're not dealing with too much information. As soon as it starts rolling on in, you got to try and organize it all and keep up to date with it. That's when it gets a bit too much. But, you know, if you keep on top of it, maybe it's not that bad. At least for me, when it comes to the hike footage, it's hard to keep up with it all because over time there's been a collection of people and reoccurring visits out there. So there's a range of videos now of hikes to look at compared to back then. So, you know, all I can say is with time, hopefully there'll be more material that comes out. And if Susan does find any more, I'm sure she'll pass it on. And maybe by then it might be enough to convince others that doubt certain conclusions. Okay? So that seems to be it for the comments in general here. Hopefully you enjoyed this video and found it of some interest. Be sure to like and share this video to spread as much awareness as possible. The thumbs up down below, feel free to click on it. It'll help get the word out there with the latest research, the latest comparisons before and after photos, so people understand what's happened and the possibilities of the vulnerabilities, you know, how fragile the mineshaft is or what it can become. Just so people know that there might be a time limit. I'm sure there'll still be many years ahead, but, you know, there's no harm in just acknowledging it. And of course, most importantly, if any of you who have watched this video noticed any drastic differences, changes, additions which I missed out on, be sure to let me know in the comment section down below. I think for now, we'll leave it there. There's some additional research to do in time and references to Jeff Clark's experiences. We'll get round to that. But let's leave it there. Thanks for watching. Goodbye, and I'll see you next time.